Hey everyone, this is DayTraderRockStar, and today's educational video is on how to trade an inverted slanted head and shoulders pattern. Slanted inverted head and shoulders pattern. It's a takeoff of the inverted head and shoulders pattern, which if you know what a head and shoulders and an inverted head and shoulders patterns are opposite patterns. One represents a topping pattern, another one represents a bottoming pattern. And the slant to it represents a downward trend line. So again, the look of an inverted head and shoulders pattern is just, you have a left shoulder, which is identified just by consolidation. Then you have a drop to lows, and then you push back up, and then you make another pivot area. And when you make that pivot area, you start to recognize that you're starting to push into a shoulder. It starts to hold up and starts to maybe go sideways here, and we can start to see that sideways consolidation. At that point, we're starting to recognize this as a bottoming pattern. Now, there's other things that you want to take in consideration: the daily chart, the 60-minute chart, and other things, but we are also looking for this one to hold the lows, and this actually to push higher. So this is a reason I kind of posted out, said watch out here. This is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and this is the type of stuff that I do. And if I haven't introduced myself properly, if you happen to see this for the first time, we do this live on a radio show called DayTraderRockStar, and we search for these patterns throughout the day, and if I do see that pattern, you bring it up to the I bring it up to the audience, and I talk about the education of how to trade it. So we continued today. I sent out a couple charts as it was setting up. First was this one chart, and then we followed through, and we saw what we normally want to see here is a breakout of this this trend line. So the big question is, how do we recognize when to buy this? Well, first of all, we know that we're looking at an inverted head and shoulders before we even that's what we're looking for. So we're trying to time this enough so if we do have a pullback, we definitely have a good area to get in here with a stop underneath the recent low. That gives us a high probability setup. First of all, we have a recognizable pattern. You see everything here. That's a nice trend line and a nice little flag. It's almost like we broke down and we pushed back up, and we're flagging out, and we're going to head back up. But again, how do we determine that? So we're just going to take a look at the next chart on this, and this is the follow-through of it. Whenever we get a channel break or a trend line breakout, you always look for that first retracement. You might have learned in books to buy breakouts, and I've kind of preach against that because that's just a sucker bet in the market. Breakouts tend to fall right back, and as you're chasing the stock up here, and you're thinking, well, I just got a break out of a trend line. Next thing you know, it's pulling back in your negative territory, and because of the fear issue, and as traders have that fear issue, they think they've gotten in and they start losing money. Basically, that's where the fear comes in. They tend to dump out here, not having confidence in the setup. Now, you could buy the breakout of this, but also also understand that every breakout usually comes with a pullback and then a follow through. So in this case, you can actually see the follow through. So that brings us to how to recognize when we want to get into an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So I usually use the 5-minute chart, and we're going to go to a 5-minute chart of Coles here. And here you can see, first of all, we're going to actually go to the daily because this is an HPS setup. An HPS setup means it's a high probability setup in the market, and it's usually based on a couple different set patterns that I trade off of. One of it is the 5 to 7 day pullback. And you can see here we're really in the 7th day of the pullback. Nice 3-day consolidation. Really gives us time for the stochastics to get oversold, and then we start to look for that momentum to come back in and this push back up towards that gap resistance, which is usually the first target on that, or the 20-period moving average. All right, so we're going to be looking for this to move up. So intraday, we know we're in a 5 to 7 day pullback, so we're starting to look for this to base out. So this is the only reason I might be looking for an opportunity in this stock to move higher. So we're always looking at the 5-minute chart, and we start to see that this stock has pulled back, but we are in the lower part of the channel line, and we start to see this. I see this channel line, or what we call a trend line. And once I see it pull back, I'm starting to recognize all of a sudden that we have this inverted head and shoulders pattern. So what do we look for? Well, what we look for is that retracement on the stochastics here. Stochastics on the 5-minute chart, 1433 of the settings. Once it gets back into an oversold level, but the price level hasn't broken down through the recent low, that's a divergence. That's an oversold divergence, and we have a higher low, and that usually represents a breakout coming, a move back up. We get a turn back up. All right, and then from that point on, the market kind of stair steps up, and we get that breakout. And that's basically a simple little rule. Look for the breakout. If you're going to try to time the inverted head and shoulders pattern, you time it on the 5-minute stochastic rotation. Try to get it back into an oversold. Watch the, if this was weaker than weak, we might see this slowly grind back. We might not be oversold until we break down a little lower. And in that case, this would be our buy level down here. But that's another chart pattern altogether. That's a channel bounce stochastic rotation. That's another one of my great setups. So, it's important to understand that we only want to take high probability setups in the market. The inverted head and shoulders pattern, is a good scalping pattern, and this is how it plays out. It just gives you a better odds in the overall markets, And that's it. It's a fast little video. I wanted to focus on the inverted head and shoulders pattern. I am posting right now on DayTraderRadio.com the charts that set up this week's inverted head and shoulders pattern. And this is the video that I'm actually going to post the link there right now and kind of help you describe what made me get into actually not get into it, but what made me describe the setup here. It's really about that 5-minute stochastic setup. I'm already into calls, so I was already managing this trade, but I just want to update you on this one. This is an HPS setup going into next week, and we'll probably revisit this on a video in the future. Wow, that's it. All right. Take care, and don't forget, we broadcast live every day from 8:30, 8 o'clock to 4:30, 4 o'clock, live at DayTraderRadio.com, live intraday market analysis, trading, and a great bunch of traders. See you in the markets.